Hello, hello, everyone, and welcome to our panel discussion. Today, we're going to be diving into the topic of copywriting. Why many of us as business owners, managers, and leaders in our organizations or businesses should be thinking about copywriting, how we should be incorporating it, whether we're thinking about our websites, whether we're thinking about blogs, any type of content we're putting out there, and really making sure that you're thinking strategically about copywriting. We have the pleasure today to have two experts on the panel. I think that's what's so excited about I'm so excited about doing these panel discussions is because I love to bring experts to you to kind of talk about topics in a little bit more detail. We've had an amazing opportunity to interview these two experts individually, so we will be linking to their interviews in the description so that you can check them out and learn even more about the amazing work they do. But today we're going to go deep into the topic. We're going to talk about not only their difference in styles and approaches, but also maybe give some of you some aha moments on how you should be incorporating copywriting in what you're doing. So first, let me just introduce our panel. We have Sandra. It's our first person up on the panel. Sandra, do you want to just say hello to everyone and give them a little bit of background on what you're doing?
Sure. Thanks, Stephanie. I'm Sandra Nomoto, also known as the Content Doctor. I live and work in Vancouver, BC, Canada, and help with content writing and editing, as well as services for authors. So ghostwriting, editing, and book formatting.
Perfect. And our other expert is Ana. Do you want to give everyone a little bit of an intro into who you are and what you work on as well?
Of course. Thank you, Stephanie. Hi, everyone. I'm Ana. I am a copywriter and I specialize in helping sustainable businesses with their content marketing, SEO, email marketing, and basically anything that needs words.
Perfect. So let's start talking about the strategic idea. This is one thing that's kind of near and dear to my heart, just because I really feel like when it comes to marketing, so many of us are inundated with everything that we have to get done. There's just so much to do, so much to create. And for many people, they love the product or service that they create, but the marketing side of it feels so overwhelming. So when it comes to things like copy, it can become a little bit intimidating. It can become the thing that you just got to get it done. And sometimes we forget to think strategically about how do we want to use words to get the message across? How do we want to use words to sell the product? How do we want to use words to build a community? So therefore, I want people to, walk away today about how they should strategically think about copywriting in their business or organization. So let me just throw that question out to each of you. And if each of you can kind of comment from your perspective on if someone's in an organization, if they're in a business, whether they're in startup mode or they're in relaunch mode, what should they be thinking about as they're putting together maybe their content or their content managing strategy? Who wants to go first?
I can go. And I think you said it. It's the strategy, it's the plan. And I actually don't really work with clients on that level. I have a couple of packages that are on an ongoing basis. And based on those services, it's kind of like, I'm doing all of the writing for you or all of the editing for you. You could look at that as a strategy, but I don't call myself a strategist, right? So you could theoretically work with somebody on that level that'll actually say, here's the week and here's what we're going to post on which platform and which news, whether it's newsletter, whether it's video, and plan it out. And then from there, I go and I do the content writing for it. So I don't touch video, I don't post for you. I just work on the words part. So yeah, that's just personally how I like to work. It's more on the granular level, as you said. If the person I'm working with is not great at the word part of it, that's where I can come in. But yeah, I usually don't actually do the big plan part.
Do you feel like people should just jump in and get started if they're starting out with content? So therefore, if they start working with someone like you, they should get started, get a feel, and then take a step back and figure out the strategy? Or do you feel like they should set the strategy first? What's your perspective on that?
I think if you can start with a plan, But yeah, if you're startup and you're just eager to get going and you have, a clear idea of what you want to say and what you're selling, you can start with that first and then look at your analytics and see how the conversion is doing. And then from there, you might know that you need some help, and then you can outsource to somebody.
Perfect. So Ana, what's your perspective on the strategy, the approach, and also how you play a role in it?
Well, I actually do help with the strategy, so I definitely can give a little bit more insight on this. I do think it's important before you set up any content plan, any strategy for your business, that you do a thorough research on not only your product and what you're selling in terms of like check your competition, what are they doing, what's working for them, but also it's very important to have a very deep research on your ideal client. It's important to know what platforms they use the most, if they are more in touch with reading blogs or a podcast or posting on LinkedIn versus Instagram, and focus your efforts where they should be focused. There's so much out there today that it's very hard for a small business to keep up with posting on all social media channels, having a blog, having a podcast, having this, posting here, posting there. It can become a little bit too much. And sometimes not all channels work for all businesses. So I think it's important to know what works for you. What does your client, what's going to resonate the most with your ideal client? And from there, you can start crafting a strategy that will help. So if you want to bring traffic to your website, your strategy can start creating engaging, high quality blogs, and use these blogs to create content for all the other social media channels that you have. You can take little pieces of this blog and post them on Instagram if that's where your ideal client is. You can use them to create a small YouTube video or a little podcast on the same subject or something like that. So that way you're repurposing your content and you're not wasting time in all the social media channels where maybe your ideal client is not even hanging out there.
I'm so glad you brought up the ideal client because I really think when, just running a business as a whole, a lot of times people, want to, support everyone, help everyone, especially sometimes, as many of us who, are vegans or compassion based and so forth, we don't want to leave anyone out. But I think it's so important that people think about who their ideal client is so that not only are their products and services in line with them, but specifically, like you're saying, the words that we're using, the copy that you're putting together, it truly does resonate to them. So do we want to talk a little bit about some of the pitfalls or challenges people have when they're trying to develop that messaging? Because I know sometimes when you're trying to develop content, it's so easy to put yourself in that role as opposed to your client or your ideal customer, that when you make those mistakes, sometimes your copy can miss the mark and you're not getting the conversions that you need just because you've really put the wrong person in the wrong role. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on matching up the messaging with your ideal clients and how people can do a better job. Ana, I'll throw it to you first and have you chime in, and then Sandra, I'll have you jump in next.
Of course. Well, I think it's very important, again, to do research on your client. If you want your message to resonate with your ideal person, you have to speak to their struggles, their desires. You want to know what's their struggle regarding your product or service, and why would they need to buy this product? What problem is your product solving for them? Because at the end of the day, as harsh as this could sound, your client doesn't care so much about you or your product or your business. They really care about how your product is going to help them solve an issue. So when you are in your copy explaining this to them and explaining how your company has the same values as them, is solving an issue for them, it's not all about profit and more about creating profit, but also helping people or helping animals or helping the environment or whatever goal or value that the company might have. So I think it's important to know first to really know how you're helping people, and then share this in a way that people can connect with, leave behind the trying to look professional or anything like that, and just be genuine, honest, and tell people truly how you are helping them.
Perfect. Yeah, I like that idea of, being, finding your voice and finding your way of doing
Yeah.
it. Because I do think sometimes we see what other people do and we're like, I should do it just like them, or I should do it just like that. And therefore, we can kind of box ourselves in. Especially for someone who's maybe new or just starting out their business, they may not trust as much to kind of take that leap of faith and put things, in the voice that they think might work. Sandra, what's your thoughts on the topic of matching up the voice and getting that ideal client's true needs into your writing?
Yeah, I think we've mentioned a lot of it already. The first half of it is identifying who that ideal client is and speaking to them. Because if the ideal client is Gen Z, that's how you have to be talking to those folks, and that's really not my expertise. And then it's developing your own brand voice. So there are some really great Canadian brands who really know what their voice is, and they're really good at communicating that. Others, they may not have that strong of a voice, but I think what Ana touched on about values and what you stand for, I talk a lot about this in my content, is one way that you can stand out is sharing more of your values. So if environment is one of your big values, and your product is sustainable and it all matches up, then that should probably be a good chunk of the content that you put out there. How our product or our service is sustainable, or other ways you can incorporate sustainability into your lifestyle, so that the values are kind of part of the brand message, and then you're reaching consumers that are aligning and resonating with that message.
Perfect. And one thing I want to hit on is I think sometimes people mix up copywriting with like the SEO buzz and push that's been out there. A lot of people think about the idea of like stuffing words into their copy and stuffing words in there, so they can get, that love from Google. But when I think of copywriting, I think of it way beyond kind of just Google search. I think of it really about that messaging and connection. How have you either helped clients through that challenge? Have you experienced that? Because I know I've had that with a lot of my clients where, they're leaning so far into that SEO, or they're leaning so far into those keywords that sometimes they're losing their messaging. Either person have any thoughts on that? You guys can just chime in.
Well, Ana does more of the SEO side than I do. So I call myself a content writer and editor. So I write based on what the client says. We're going to do a blog on this, go. And and then I'll write the blog as is. And then they have an SEO person on their end who usually does the keyword insertion, or the client gives me the keywords and I can put them in a natural way so that it doesn't sound like a robot wrote this blog. But yeah, there's definitely different ways to do it. As natural sounding as you can make it, I think is the more ideal way to go.
I agree. I think definitely a lot of people confuse this, and even when I do SEO consultations, I always say that the best SEO tool that you can have is quality. When your content has quality and it's written not only for Google but also for humans, and it's creating a connection, then Google is going to give you the love you're looking for. Because at the end of the day, Google wants you to find the answers you're looking for immediately. So if you're providing that with good products, good quality content, then Google will, answer back and push your website and your content on top of the searches. I do SEO and copywriting, which are both two different things. Definitely, it's just part of one of the services I offer. But I think that it's important to always keep in mind that you're not only writing for Google and that Google is not going to be buying your products is a person. So I think it's important to have content that resonates with people, and of course, optimize it for SEO, but unnatural optimization like keyword stuffing and, unnatural writing so that Google picks it up. Not only does it not work anymore, it's worse for you, because not only does your words are not saying much and are not connecting to your actual clients, Google is smarter and smarter every day, and you might be able to rank for a little while, but as soon as Google notices that you're using tricks or you're trying to cut in the line, it will punish you, and it'll punish your website and will get it out of the search results. So on terms of SEO, it takes time, it takes patience, and it takes quality content. So I think those are important.
Perfect. And then Sandra, you got me thinking when you were talking about, writing and editing and really diving in for people. When should someone work with someone like yourself? Because, a lot of us, some of us are like, okay, I'm definitely not a writer. Some of us know that, and they know that, okay, I need help. But some of us, feel like we can write and we can get that information out there. But I feel like there may be a difference in writing a great email versus writing copy to get someone to buy a product or service, writing copy when you're writing a blog that needs to be persuasive and you're trying to change someone's perspective, or writing, an article when you're trying to introduce someone to a new concept or a new way of doing things. These are like different styles of writing, and not everyone maybe has those styles of writing in their wheelhouse. So how do you help people either realize that, yes, it's time for me to get some help, or helping people understand that, that maybe one writing style is great for them, but by working with someone like you, they could expand their reach and expand their influence?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, you just really have to do a self-assessment. So you can contact me. I'm happy to kind of do an audit based on what's publicly available. I can look at your social media. I can look at the blogs that you have, and I can recommend, whether it would be good for me to come in and edit. Because again, a lot of people are great at writing. Maybe we need to tweak it just for that persuasiveness point and getting people to click on that buy button. Or if, you're really horrible at it, and hey, we all have different strengths, then someone like me can go in and we can do that for you. Again, trying to maintain that brand voice that maybe you already have. So it really depends on kind of what level you're at, whether you want to outsource all of it, or you want to write the first draft, as we've talked about, and then hand over the polishing and the finessing to an editor. And then the different types of content. Maybe you need help with more emails or more blogs, and you're great at the short form social. So it really depends on kind of, I guess the strengths of the person posting or their marketing person, and where they might need some more help and support.
Perfect. Okay. And Ana, if I guess they go on the other side of things, we've people who, love to write and want to write, like we were just talking about, but you also have people who maybe are trying to do some specific things, like they're trying to build a landing page to do this. I'm trying to build a page to drive my email marketing growth. How do you help people kind of focus their writing, especially when it comes to writing for conversions or writing to get someone to buy or get someone to take that leap? Because I think there's that content side of writing, which we've been talking a little bit about, but there's also that other side where you're trying to get a call to action. You're trying to get someone to actually take action. And how do you either help people through that process, or even if people maybe aren't as familiar with call to actions today, any recommendations you have so that people can understand the difference when you're trying to educate versus get someone to take action? What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I think it's very important to, first of all, you just say it, identify why you're writing this piece of content. Is it to inform? Is it to sell? Is it to promote? it's important to know the core goal of this content, and from then you can decide what approach you're going to take. If you're writing a sales email for a product you're about to launch, I think it's important to, again, back to it because I'm really big on this, do research and do research on your people, on your product, and on your competitors. And from there, there are many different copywriting techniques that you can use to create, a desire for the product, and then have a call to action at the end. You can even create a little bit of like an email sequence where you start, introducing your brand, what do you do, why you do it, then talk a little bit about the product, and then finally offer the sale with a very clear call to action. And especially sometimes I see people with too many call to actions or just too many things going on in the email, that like click this to read testimonials and click this to the website and click this, and it's just too much. You want to have your one goal at the end of the email or at the beginning, however you want to structure it, but have your clear call to action, your actual word, what you really want to obtain out of the email or the landing page, and have it really clear, really easy for people to click and to learn more and to, take the following step.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up, because I think sometimes we try to achieve all of the above
Yeah.
in one piece, in one item, and it's so hard to put all of those in there. Not only do people not know what you want them to do, but a lot of times, you can create a point where people don't take any action because you've asked them to make so many decisions that you're just not able to make that rapid fire decision in the 3 to 5 to 10 seconds that sometimes people spend on our websites and on our emails.
Exactly.
So I'm really, really glad that you brought that up. And I guess that leads me into a question. I want to have both of you answer this, but the idea of consistency in content and consistency in writing, that's probably one of the biggest things that when I first started my business, we were all over the place trying to do everything. But after I've been in business for a while, what I realized is it was so important that if I'm going to send out emails, I send out whatever my commitment is, 2 emails a month. I send them on these dates. I start to get that rhythm going so that my community expects, enjoys, and looks forward to that rhythm. Now, looking forward to them may be my excitement level around it, but the idea that they really can start to see me as a standard part of their life or their information cycle. And whether people are doing it, for me, sometimes I'm teaching people to do it in live sessions. I'm teaching them to do it in blog posts and social media and so forth. But I really feel like a lot of people miss that consistency. And instead, they're doing things kind of in blips. They're doing a lot of posts and then they stop for a while. They're doing a lot of emails and then they stop for a while. So you have any thoughts or any recommendations for anyone out there that's been struggling with getting consistent, and how and what they should be doing so that their content becomes maybe a little bit easier for people to digest it? They're not getting it from as I say, a fire hose type of approach. Sandra, do you want to tackle that one first?
Sure. Consistency will save your life. And Vegan Mainstream social media course is amazing. And I'll plug that because I learned so many tips from it. And I'm a consistency person. So I'm doing a 4 posts a week, with the exception this month. I'm doing a special challenge on Instagram, but 4 posts a week. That's all I do on social. And then every Friday I post the same type of content. So there's that weekly consistency. And then I tell people start broad first, and then you can always increase the frequency. So for a monthly newsletter, once a month, and blog, start off with once a month. Then if you feel like you can increase that frequency, let's go bi-weekly, and then with the goal of eventually doing maybe weekly. Personally, I aim for bi-weekly, and then I only do newsletters once a quarter. So so personally for me, consistency has really helped with my rhythm.
Perfect. Yeah, I'm really big on that rhythm, and it's been really fun, like finding that rhythm and almost now I almost enjoy it. In the beginning, it was hard. I felt like, oh, I got to get this done. I said I was going to do it. Oh, no. Oh, no. And then eventually I found this groove that now I like look forward to, creating my content on that basis. So I just say that for anyone out there that maybe was struggling like I was in the beginning with their consistency, where it felt like a tug of war, that it does start to become a nice groove. Ana, do you want to chime in on consistency or the approach?
Yeah, absolutely. I also think I've noticed this before, how consistent you are with not only content, but also your interviews and everything. It's amazing. So congratulations. I do think consistency plays a huge role on the success of a business, especially if this means, promoting your brand and your business consistency. It helps with everything, and it can be hard, especially if you're starting out and you feel that imposter syndrome, like, no, I don't feel comfortable posting content or whatever. I do think it's important to, like I said at the beginning, start with what works best for your business. Don't try. I feel like we get overwhelmed with all the noise out there and all the things, and everyone's saying you have to try this and this and that, that we forget that putting quality content in one or two channels with consistency rather than throw some content here and there, then stop, then do it again, and then being all over the place. So much better to do a little consistency than trying to do everything and then drop it and then pick it up again. Sometimes it just doesn't resonate so much with people as when they can count on your email or on your blog or on your message or content consistently every week or every month, whatever it is that you can have the time to do without overwhelming yourself. And yeah.
Perfect. Yeah, it's interesting as I've been working on that even for myself since last year. It's, when I do miss or I do skip or I have to make a change because something comes up, it's so like refreshing when someone's like, hey, I thought we had a session today, or hey, I thought, I didn't see your email or I didn't see this. So I say that to say to people that eventually your community will also notice when you're not consistent, because they will show that interest. And that's some encouragement, at least I find, when we're all tackling our to-do list. So Ana, I'm going to throw a question right back at you, and then Sandra, I'll have you answer it. I want to make sure, and I probably should have asked this in the beginning of the interview, but let's clarify writing versus copywriting. Because here's the thing. I think for a lot of people, they may not understand like what's the difference. And that may also lead into why some people don't always take that extra step to work with a copywriter, to work with someone. So maybe in your own words, could you explain what you kind of want people to understand, the difference between just writing something or versus when you're working with a copywriter, how that content would be different?
Yeah, absolutely. A question I get all the time too. And then most people doesn't even know what a copywriter is. I didn't know what copywriting was when I started. I think the key difference between writing and copywriting is that copywriting is meant to help you sell or promote or basically take action, whatever that means for your brand. If it's, I want to grow my email list, I want someone to download this sheet, I want someone to buy this product. Copywriting isn't just writing. I always say to my clients that the writing part is actually the last step. There's so much that goes on before I even start writing, like doing research and just doing copywriting techniques and doing a lot of things that build a message that is meant to pursue people to take action in whatever form that is. So I think the key difference is that copywriting is really meant for your specific brand, for your specific product, to help you grow your business, to help you make more sales, to help you keep people in your site longer, to help you connect with your audience in a deeper level rather than just, oh, here's my product, click here to buy, and more creating connection and creating more trust with the people that lands on your website that eventually prompts them to buy a product.
I love that about building that trust. I think, we forget that it's like it's building a relationship. It's not just someone's going to come to your site and it's like, oh, I already had my credit cards out on my counter. I was just waiting for someone to ask me to buy because I'm going to do
Especially
it.
nowadays, with so many ads. There's, I think, like 5,000 ads a day that we all see every day. Something insane. We're thrown with so many businesses and so much content and so many ads that I think it's so important now to create more of a meaningful relationship. And I think having 100 faithful clients is better than having 10,000 followers that don't buy anything. So at the end of the day, more than images and videos, what connects with people are words. So that's why copywriting is so important.
I love it. I'm glad you said that, because it is so, so important that we get those connections going and we cherish them. Because I really think that's what creates not only long lasting businesses, but businesses that truly impact communities, businesses that really people talk about, share. And then a lot of, maybe it's just my veganist and compassion and, want to change the world kind of creeping out here in this interview. But I think it also allows us to really, be kind of ambassadors for change, ambassadors for great things to happen in our communities, not just bottom line kind of businesses. So, Sandra, what's your thoughts on the take of writing versus copywriting? Do you see it a little bit differently? Do you have a different spin on it, or a different approach, or anything else that you want to kind of add?
Yeah, my definition is pretty similar to Ana's, and we talked about this in the other podcast we did as well. I see most writing as content writing, whereas copywriting is a specific subset where, like Ana said, you're trying to persuade, and you're trying to sell your product or service. So I work less on that, and I'm glad I switched the name of my company, because originally I was going under the word copywriter, and I don't work on that almost at all now. I'm focusing mostly on the everyday type of content. So so even if you're doing more videos than writing, it's video heavy, you still need that little bit of description and have to think about what you're putting in there, whether it's just an everyday piece of content or you're sharing your values, or if it's meant to sell, and then it needs to be tweaked a little bit more to present that call to action.
Perfect. And I love that, because I think it's so easy to throw everything into one bucket. It's so easy to just say, well, if I wrote it, it's just writing, right? We kind of can simplify it. And I think it's important for us to all sit down when we think about marketing, is realize that these are tools to create an outcome. These are tools designed to create an impact. They're designed to actually get a specific result. And not always the result is to buy. That's when we go down that copywriting lane. But I always think that, when we think about even marketing, like peeling back those layers of it, often I want people to kind of realize that it's so important to pick and choose how you communicate, how you use your time. And writing and copywriting, all of these things are things that you really want to sit down and start to understand how you want to use them in your business. How do you use them either as support versus education versus sales, and making sure you have lanes for each of those, and we don't just kind of put them all in one big bucket. The other thing I guess I want to talk a little bit about is helping people kind of take their business to the next level. Because I think what happens is plenty of us get into a rut in our business. We have a plan, we have a process, we put it in place, we've been running our business, or we got started. And what happens is we're really trying to figure out how to elevate our brand. How do we go to that next level? How do we expand? And I'm thinking through whether it's on the copywriting side, whether it's on the writing and creating content side, what are some recommendations you may have on how people can take either an existing brand or a brand that they feel like, they've taken it pretty far, they have a good amount of customers, people are happy with it. Like, how do they elevate their brand either on the copywriting side or the writing side? Sandra, I'll throw that one to you first.
Yeah, I think it's sort of on a case by case basis. You really have to see what they're putting out there, whether or not it's working. And it may be a tweak of a message. It may be you need to up the quality of your images and videos, increase the frequency. It's hard for me to say. I think, I have to do a little bit of an audit to tell.
But I like that you said that maybe it's time for people to do an audit, because I think sometimes people forget that you need sometimes that like third party opinion. You need someone else to look at the body of what you've done and say, this is how you can make it better. Or even what you mentioned about looking at the data. I think a lot of times we're just writing and churning it out. And it's like a to-do list. Got that one done. Got that one done, got that one done. And we don't always go back and say, well, what were my top posts over the last 6 months? Which ones did better? Can we see why some of those did better? Because I put it on Facebook versus I put them on Instagram. Is it the traffic that came over? Are they getting different traffic breakdowns? And really looking at that data to help drive that next decision. Because I think sometimes we think of like, do I like that article? Did my cousin or my niece or my friend like the article? And that's great. It's a good gut check maybe in the beginning, but eventually I think doing that data and audit is a really good thing for people to think about. Ana, what's your perspective on this?
I was actually going to say the same thing about having an audit. I think if you are kind of at a good balance, but you want to take it a step further, it's important to do a little bit of just check kind of like maybe content gaps, see what you're lacking, and also what's working. I think it's Google Analytics. It's an amazing tool to see, if your ideal audience are 24 to 35-year-old women, and you see that most men are landing on your website, then there's something that you got to change. It's either your tone of voice, your messaging, the way you're saying things, the content you're putting out there. See what's working better, see what's not working, and find that little thing that's missing to take the business to the next level. You definitely would need a little bit of an audit. I agree, and it works on a case-by-case basis. But starting with an audit to see what's working, what's not working, I think it's really important.
Yeah. And you got me thinking when you said that, because I think sometimes we not only forget about the tone and how does that maybe resonate with people younger and older, or male versus female and so forth, but even all the content, even the photos that we put on the page, where if you're skewing towards a certain type of audience, you want to make sure the photos represent the audience that you're even talking to. And I bring that up because I think a lot of times we're just like, oh, I'll grab this image. I searched for it, I grabbed this image, I'm just going to dump it in there. And how important it is to make sure that the total representation of that piece really speaks to that audience, helps them connect with the piece, and they can see themselves kind of in the messaging and in that communication. So I'm really glad that you mentioned that. It set a little light bulb off in my head. So I'm just looking at time. We're having a really good discussion. I love that we're going into some of the things that people can do and so forth. But I also want to make sure that as people are tuning in or as people are listening to this, if they think they need help, if they've heard something today that reminded them that, oh, I haven't been doing that. I hadn't thought about copywriting versus writing. I hadn't thought about getting consistent with my copy my content. Or maybe they're just struggling with the consistency piece. And maybe there's an opportunity that you gals, I should say, can help them. Do you want to give everyone maybe a little bit of perspective on when they should give you a call, when they should reach out to you so that they could get your help or your support for your services. Ana, do you want to take that one first? And then Sandra, I'll jump to you next.
Absolutely. I think that anybody could use a copywriter, whether you're just starting and you haven't even launched yet, or you're already established, but you want to take it a little bit to the next level. I think you need a copywriter if you, one, are staring at a blank document, cannot get the words out. If you're struggling, I think that's important to know when you need help and in the places that you need help. And I feel like a lot of people struggles with the writing and with putting the words out. They have so many amazing ideas and so many things in their head, but then when it comes to actually putting in paper, it can be tough. So if you're struggling to create content, whether it's website copy or emails, newsletters, blogging, you can definitely send me a message. We can book a call, and I can scan a little bit through your website, your content, and see where I can help you with. And yeah.
Perfect. And Sandra?
Yeah, similarly, I mean, I'm always open for questions. Yeah, like I don't mind doing like a free 15-minute audit of what I see that you're putting out there, and whether or not you might need to hire somebody. And then my website gives a good idea of some of the things that I offer. So website copy. So if you just need that, and then somebody else is handling your content from then on, I can help there. If you enjoy the writing process and you maybe need just an editor to look it over, to put in keywords before it gets published, then I really love editing, because with editing, the person's brand voice gets preserved. So I really enjoyed that process. But again, if you're staring at that blank page, don't know what to say, you need to completely outsource the writing to somebody else. I can help on that level as well. And I also really love to get to know clients, and I hear how they speak, because that helps me try and insert their voice a little bit into the writing as well.
I'm really glad to hear that. And I hope for anyone out there, if you're listening, even if you're just in the beginning stages, reach out, because I can't tell you how valuable it's been for us at Vegan Mainstream. I have an editor on our team, and our editor, I just couldn't have done everything that we've been able to accomplish all these years without her. Our editor, her name is Emma, and Emma's been working with us for almost the entire time I've had Vegan Mainstream, so we're almost 10 years. And I say that because I think a lot of times when you first start out, when you first start a business, you think about, I need a social media manager, I needed this, I needed that. And I think one of the smartest things I did was have an editor help us from the beginning. And then us maintaining this relationship so long, we just have a great flow of, what's the voice? What do we want to put into that voice? It's also helped us as our team expanded. And as our team expanded, I can have my team write things and then send that over to our editor. And our editor can make sure it's infused with the voice. So I just wanted to give everyone some ideas and some thoughts around this process and this idea of either working with Sandra or Ana, because this is something that I really feel like can change a business. It can also take a lot of weight off of your shoulder as a business owner, as a founder, as the person that's in the garage, making the formula or making the products or ordering the products. It's just so many things on our shoulders that it's so important to have an amazing person to be able to reach out to that can make sure that your voice gets out there. And also, I just want to mention, I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on this, but I tell a lot of people that we think that it has to really look nice when we hand it over to someone, like one of you ladies, because, I used to have that hang up that I didn't want to feel silly or stupid sending something to someone that I knew wasn't grammatically correct, or I knew wasn't really 100% exactly what I wanted it to be. So I used to write 4 renditions of my copy or 4 renditions of something before I sent it to my editor, because I was creating this veil between us of I want to preserve her perception of me. And what I had to learn over time is that the purpose of bringing someone in, the purpose of having an expert there is to make sure that I can put the ideas on paper, the concept, and then having an expert shape that. So I just wanted to mention that, and I don't know if you guys have any thoughts on it as well, because I think as, leaders in our businesses, we think we should put out perfect things at times. And we don't realize that we're supposed to have really partners and experts that can take ideas and thoughts and things that are even sometimes feel a little incomplete. And they can bring in their expertise and take it to that next level. I don't know what you guys think about that, but that was one thing that was a learning exercise for me.
Yeah, I just want to say I live for your mistakes. So send me your bad spelling, bad grammar copy. Like that's exactly what I love to do, is just fix it up and make it presentable, because you should be spending the most time running your business and doing what you're great at. And if writing is not it, definitely send it to somebody like me, because I live for those mistakes, honestly. I love that process.
Yeah, I agree. That reminded me a little bit of my mom, who used to clean the house before the cleaning lady would get there, so she wouldn't think that we were slobs. I agree with Sandra. I mean, at the end of the day, what we do is absorb your voice and your message and what you're trying to say, and just put it out there in a more engaging way. So there's no perfect content. There's no perfect anything. So getting caught up in those little details, it's not really necessary or important, because at the end of the day, we're still going to grab the content and redo it. So it doesn't matter if there's spelling, grammar, if it's great or if it's average. At the end of the day, we're just going to take the core message of what you were trying to say in your tone of voice and convert it into something that resonates with people, whatever way that's presented to us.
Perfect. I love that, because that's such a important thing to learn. And I think it's also a confidence thing when you realize that that is the role and it's the process. So as we wrap up our session today, I just want to maybe hand the mic back over to each one of you to maybe share some words of wisdom that you have for anyone out there who's running their business through these challenging times, who's trying to pivot, as we talk about often in our podcast series and in these series. And, they're trying to find their way forward, regardless if it's based on the pandemic or just in general. I think running a business, you're always kind of pivoting and finding your best footing forward. So do you have any words of wisdom, anything you'd recommend, anything you've learned over the last year or so that you'd like to share with our audience?
Go ahead.
That's perfect.
Yeah, I was going to say, don't feel like you have to write so much, especially on social media. I find just, sometimes a long copy is warranted, but I find because we're so cluttered with content these days and it's all about scrolling, sometimes the shorter message is the better one. So if you can get it out succinctly and persuasively, that's a sweet spot. So I just want to say for social content, at least, don't feel like you have to write so much, because you can pack a punch in a few words. If you need help doing that, come to one of us.
And I would only say that if you are kind of struggling a little bit to put your word out there, to spread the message about your business or whatever you're doing, or you're worried, this is something I also get a lot, that you're being too specific about your brand, about your ideal client. I don't think you can be too specific. I think there's always someone who's going to resonate with what you're saying. And if you have a very targeted ideal audience, that's great. And you should embrace that. And you should continue to try to speak to this ideal audience that you have and put out the content that they like and that they're going to resonate with, even if it's short. Like Sandra said, I agree that sometimes we're just too busy to read captions that are too long or blogs that are too long, and we just want that little push of information to at least create some awareness about your brand and what you're doing. And yeah, there's always going to be someone that resonates with your super specific message.
Perfect. Well, thank you both for joining us today. It was great having, two different perspectives, two different ways of kind of approaching writing and content and copywriting. So I'm so glad we did this. And I really hope that everyone also watches your individual interviews as well, because it would be a great way for everyone to get to know each of you even more and really understand how, you guys are such a huge asset to our community. Let's just quickly make sure everyone can get in contact with you. So if you can give everyone your website and maybe your social media handles. Ana, if you want to kick that off first.
Yeah, of course. You can find me on my website, www.copy.co.com, and you can send me a message through there. You can schedule a free consultation through there, and you can also see my services and portfolio and everything you might need. And you can find me on Instagram as @Ana Mexia L.
Perfect.
Spelled. Yeah,
Perfect.
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say spell like my name is right there. Mexia, Mexia.
Perfect. And then Sandra?
I'm everywhere on social media with my name, Sandra Nomoto, and most active on Instagram and LinkedIn. And my website, my portfolio's up there as well, is thecontentdoctor.co.
Perfect. And yeah, we didn't get to the idea of a portfolio. Let's just hit that really quick, because I know you mentioned it in the notes, how so many people don't always have portfolios available. Do you want to hit on that really quick?
Yeah. Should I start?
Yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, I think portfolios are super important, especially if you're starting out offering a service based business, even if it could be whatever little thing that you did in exchange for a testimonial or something. But I do think that having a portfolio, it's a huge help, especially in us that we're writers. Everyone has a different writing style. Not that someone is better or worse. We're just different. Everyone adds their own little personality and their own thing to writing. So having something to showcase the way you work, it's very important. I also think that if your writing or your service creates any sort of results with time, you should definitely try to do case studies or something that showcases how your work is bringing results to the people who's working with you. I think that's very valuable, and it gives you a huge amount of credibility and trust.
Perfect. Sandra?
Yeah, I echo everything Ana said. If you're selling services as a copywriter, it's just such an easy way for clients to see how you write and if they resonate with your style. And then on the client side, it's the easiest way for them to get to know whether they want to work with you and they like your style of writing. Because there's the first step, if you want to hire somebody who's vegan, there's a bunch of us, and then the second step would be deciding whose style might be the best fit for my brand. So portfolio is a great way to do that.
Perfect. Well, thank you, everyone. Thank you so much for joining. I'm hoping everyone goes in and checks out your portfolios. I really love the idea that, as vegans, we offer so many different services to the community. And I really wanted to make sure we highlighted today that we have some great, amazing vegans out there writing about all different topics, not just vegan topics, but sustainability, environmental, and also about businesses and brands. And the idea is, as vegans, we're pretty dynamic. We can write and talk about all different types of topics. But the idea is that you can work with somebody who knows and understands, your purpose, who knows and understands maybe why especially for you entrepreneurs out there, why you started your business, especially for you industry leaders out there, why you started your organization. And by working with a writer or a copywriter, they can really help you get that message out there. So I'm really excited that we had a chance to dive into this topic. I hope this inspires some people to bump up their content and inspiring people to reach out to individuals like yourself, Sandra and Ana. Thank you so much for joining us today. And thank you everyone who joined us live.
Thanks so much, Stephanie.